Hello, welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. How's it going, everybody? You know how I like to get my podcast started, always with a moment of silence, followed by a serenity prayer for the addict who still suffers. A moment of silence, if you would, please. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Alrighty, well, let's get started. Oh, how's it going, everybody? I having a pretty good day today, I guess. I hope everybody out there is having a good day and a positive one. I hope that a lot of you out there have a little time under your belt in sobriety. And if not, if you're still in the world of addiction, well, you know what? Stay tuned. You know, take a load off and, you know, listen for a little while. Maybe it'll, you know, maybe something in your heart, something in your mind will click and change, and perhaps you too can be in the realm of sobriety and positivity. Well, I wanted to talk to you today about, I guess, spirituality, because I've been thinking about some things here in the last couple of weeks, and something that really kind of been, I guess, bugging me in a sense, and that's what is what is the purpose of us being here on Earth, in a sense? Because, you know, I've been thinking about it, and my mind just keeps going and going when I start thinking about it, and I start thinking about, okay, we've had, you know, different cultures, different tribes, different, you know, ethnicities, different people all throughout history, right? And I'm wondering, what was the purpose of human beings being here on Earth? I mean, what is it that? I mean, it's weird to me, because it's like, you know, when you're born, you're just born. You know what I mean? You don't know anything. You don't know where you're going. You don't know what you're doing. You're just there. You're just a being. And you can't do anything or do nothing or even fathom in your brain without the help of somebody else. And throughout your life, you start picking up little nuggets here and there of how your life is going to go. And because we got no purpose, in a sense, you know, when we were born, there's no purpose. I mean, you got no purpose whatsoever. And except the fact that you're somebody else's purpose. You know, you understand what I'm saying? You know, when you're you're an infant, you have no purpose except for your mother who had you. You're her purpose now for continuing life. In whatever shape or form that is, she is now responsible for you up until you get old enough to be responsible for yourself. So it's just I'm having a hard time figuring out what it is that we're supposed to attain in life. You know what I mean? Because it's not like, okay, say, for example, say you're on a football team. Say you're on an NFL football team. Okay? You go to practice every day, every morning, whatever it is that you do to get better at that particular thing that you're doing on that team, that's your purpose. So your purpose is to get better so that you're better than the next guy, so that you ultimately get a trophy, the recognition of you're the Super Bowl champion team, right? And so that's the purpose of your life at that particular time. And if you're not involved in something like that, then what is the purpose of you being here? You know what I mean? I've been thinking about that a lot because I now find myself with this desire and this purpose of spreading a message of something that I know to be true in the form of helping somebody who has a neurological brain disease. Because I have a neurological brain disease, and I know that there's good things and bad things that you can go through in your life, that because you have that disease, it makes it harder to do things, and it makes it harder to get out of things. And so I have this sense in my brain and in my soul, in my heart, if you will, that I need to do something to help my fellow man, my fellow addict, whatever it is, my fellow brothers and sisters in the eyes of my higher power, that I need to do something to help. That I mean, I just feel something inside of me that is telling me that I have to do that. Does that make any sense to anybody? Do you ever have that sense of that something inside you is telling you that you have to do something specific, and you wrestle around with, well, that sounds too far-fetched. Maybe that sounds too comical. Maybe that sounds too unreal. That it's just a thought, and thoughts come and go. But I started thinking, I was like, well, you know what? Life is just little scenarios of things that come and go, because nothing ever stays like a forever thing in chapters in your life, and it's never, there's always a beginning and an ending to it. And for me, you know, having childhood traumatic experiences of things that happened to me that I had no control over because I was such a little kid, and fast forwarding it to an adult, that all of those little episodes of beginnings and endings that happened in my life, you know, whether it was, you know, traumatic experiences, whether it was relationships, whether it was, you know, friendships, or whatever, even if it was like, you know, work in progress, jobs, whatever it was that I was going through in my life to get to where I'm at right this minute. Do I believe it was purposeful? Or do I believe that was where I was supposed to be? Was I supposed to be right there at that particular moment in time to end up right here where I am now? And I started thinking, you know, I started researching a few things, and I had been researching a lot of shaman, you know, type people, you know, of different ethnicities, whether it was you know, the Asian shamans or the Indians in India, or the actual indigenous, you know, Indians here in the U.S., and particularly the Yaquis, and then the mantra and Raba and mantras and Buddhism and just different types of things like that. And then also listening into intellectual people like doctors and professors, and in particular Dr. Gabo Mate. And I started listening to all these different people and trying to figure out if I could figure out what is the purpose of myself and my fellow man. What are we doing here? Or were we just some sort of, mutant from another planet that, somebody else is watching over us? You know what I mean? Like, is there another planet with, other beings that are looking at us like a Drew Carey, the Truman Show? I don't know if everybody's ever seen that, but you see the Truman Show, and he's going through his life like nothing, like everything is set up perfectly. And if somebody messed one thing up, he's going to catch it that he's like really in this dome in this studio, and now his life is nothing. He figures out that, wow, what am I really doing here? And that that turns him into this sad individual. He's depressed, he's sad, now he's crying like, what? None of these people are real. And what do I do now? And I started thinking about, those kind of things and thinking, gosh, what am I doing here? I mean, because I can remember being a child and looking up to my parents to lead the way, in a sense. Everything I see my parents do, then I obviously you're a product of your environment, right? And I always saw my dad drinking and he did drugs, and ultimately I just started drinking and doing drugs. I mean, I mentioned it before. I started doing my first drink and my first drug was in the first grade. And how I got away from it as a kid and then wound up going to the military as a young adult. I don't know how that happened. Was it destiny? Was I at the right place at the right time? Is it a spiritual being that's, leading the way? I have no idea. But what I do know is I feel, ever since I was a kid, I've felt those things. I felt real spiritual. I could feel I could sense when something bad was going to happen. I could see things. I could hear things in my dreams. I could hear things. I knew when something was going to be good, and I knew when something was going to be bad. And I had a real good intuition, if you will, a real good sixth sense as a young kid. I mean, I'm talking little bitty dude. And throughout my life, I've always had it. I've been around the world. I've been to many places. And I've always been able to attract people. People have always been attracted to me. And in a sense of, they hear what I got to say. They'll sit down and listen. They ask me for advice. They do, all this kind of things like that. And I've always felt this sense of spirituality that I feel guides me in some sort. I've seen a lot of things. I've heard a lot of things, and I freak myself out sometimes. And so one of the things that I've been kind of really looking into, and one of the things that I've always been, I guess, interested in or knew that something was up with what was going on in my hands. And I've always felt these energies that I can sense through my hands. And even when I would go rock hounding, I could feel the energy off of one rock in a different rock and that sort of thing. And it's amazing. Let me tell you a quick story about that. I'm rock hounding out in South Texas and around the outskirts of San Antonio, and I got all these different rocks that I've accumulated. And every time I would go, I would pick up a rock, and for some reason I can immediately see things in the rocks, and then I could feel the energies, and I could feel when the energy was good, when the energy was bad, and I could always feel and knew when I was allowed to take the rock with me, and not take the rock with me. And well, this particular time, I got about, I want to say maybe 15 to 20 rocks that I got, and I brushed them off, cleaned them up, and got them prepped them up to bag them and label them, and store them for another day when I could get to, because my thing was I like polishing the rocks, right? And so this particular day, I got all these rocks set up, right? And I got them up against the wall. I got this it's on the dresser basically, and I got them laid out all next to each other, and the wall's coming up because the dresser's up against the wall, right? And I got all the rocks right here, and lined up against the wall. Well, I had enough. I ran out of space, so I started lining up the next set of rocks in front of those rocks. Well, one of the rocks I had was probably about softball size, and I had that one already up here. Well, I had this other rock that when I grabbed that big rock that was size of a softball, and the other rock, I could feel these two energies that were not the same. But I mean, I could literally feel the energies going through my hand. And it's a weird feeling, but nonetheless, that one particular rock I put right in front of the big rock, and I was done. I was tired, so I lied down, and the dresser's like right next to me on this side to the left, right, and I lay down, and there's a friend of mine who's with me, and she's doing something on her phone, and so I laid down for a little while because it was pretty late already, and she's playing games or something like that, and next thing I know, I could feel myself going into a sleep, and then I just heard a thump, a loud thump, and it startled me, and I got up, and I was like, hey, what was that? She goes, I don't know, something over there fell. And when I looked over, that big rock was on the floor, and it was weird because that rock was here, and well, let me show you. I'll let me draw it here on this board so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, but here's the dresser, right? So the big rock was here up against the wall, and the little rock was right here, right in front of it. So, let me grab this again. So we got the big rock right here, and the little rock right here. Well, this thing leaped over and landed on the floor down here. So when I got up, I saw that, and I'm like, what the heck? And I knew immediately that the energies that was in that big rock, whoever had that rock prior, or wherever that rock came from, had an energy that it came with it. And I know that in the realm of spirituality and entities and that sort of thing, entities and spirit things can move from place to place through objects. And so I knew that whoever or wherever, whatever was energies were on that big rock conflicted with the energies that were on that small rock. So they were from two completely different realms. So they were either two completely different entities, like, or two different worlds, and they didn't get along whatsoever. So it was just, and when I had both of those rocks in my hand, I could feel the energies, and I could tell, and I knew that one was bad and one was good. So I got to thinking back to what I was talking about at the beginning, and of our purpose and stuff. I found myself thinking, what is my purpose now? Because I got this strong passion feeling that I'm supposed to help somebody, that I'm supposed to help people in general, and I'm supposed to talk about things that help people. I feel that the world is, that there's so many people that are suffering from anxieties, and from spirituality, starvation in a sense, and that they don't know if the realm of spirituality or the realm of God is true, or is it just something that we as humans made up? I have no idea. But what I do know is the passion in my heart. I feel very, very empathetic and very, very compassion to do something about it. And to me, it's sharing messages that come to my brains. If I think of something, or if I go through something, or if I see somebody else and they touch me in some sort of way that I need to speak about it, then I feel that I'm the translator for them, in a sense, and I got to bring this message out to the audience, to whoever needs to listen to it. And I strongly believe that if there's something that's happening in your life, and that something that's bothering you, something that you don't know what to do about, or a situation you need to get out of, then I think that by me spreading these type of messages in these videos, and that sort of thing, I'm relaying a message that somebody needs to hear. And whether, I don't know what kind of results come out of that, but if I feel in my heart that it's good that I relayed a message that needed to be relayed, then I'm good with that, and I'll continue to do it. And my mind, it has been just racing with all kinds of things, and then I started thinking a little bit more about our existence and our purpose of life, and most of the shamans, most of the spiritual people, and most of the research I did all came down to listening to people stories. And most of these people that I talk, or that I listen to them talk and stuff like that, they were all people that had years of life, and people that had a bunch of experience in life situations. So I think that's key to spreading a word, a message of some sort to someone that needs to hear it. And because as people, we're tribe oriented, in a sense. Our natural way of living is through a tribe. Because from way back when, in our ancestor days, when you were born through your mom, and then you were raised with your mom, your dad, and the rest of the tribe that was there. There was no outside. There was no cell phones. There was no nannies. There was none of that crap. It was all bloodline, you know, tribe-oriented things. You all helped each other, live. You all helped each other get housed. You all helped each other eat. You all helped each other hunt, clothe each other, everything like that. So we were, we've always been a people of love and compassion and empathy and that sort of thing. And I think in today's world is so freaking toxic that people long for stuff like that because you put you in today's world you get classified and you have to keep up with the Joneses. You gotta if you don't drive a certain car, if you don't make so much money, if you don't go to this school or that school or whatever, then you're considered you're in a different group. You're classified as, in different ways in society and even online, and so a lot of people take that to heart, and I think people want to feel. I think people want to have that sense of affirmation, that sense of I guess of love, of being acknowledged that you're here on earth, that you're here, that you care, that you're cared for, that you're here, that you mean something. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people are wandering around here lost without that affirmation. They don't know. They're just wandering around like lost souls. And I'm here to tell you that you're not a lost soul. I'm here to tell you that you have a purpose, that you're part of this existent tribe that we are in the sense of humans. We're humanity. We all should be looking out for each other. And it's easy to fall victim to the toxicity of the world. And in my case, the falling to the toxicity of homelessness and drug abuse, and the only way that I could get out of that is by connecting with my spirituality and my community of recovery and faith-based community. So, in a sense, when you look at it in a different perspective, you're going back to the tribal sense of where we came from. In other words, if you're part of this tribe in the community of recovery and the part of this tribe in the community of faith-based, then in spirituality, then you start feeling accepted. You start feeling these things that you were missing in your mind and in your soul, and they start getting fed in a sense, and then you start taking action. And it's amazing how that works, because when I was in full-blown addiction, I was sitting there depressed, I was sitting there mad, I was sitting there sad. Many days I would cry, many days I would just be pissed off, just wanted to knock somebody's head off. Man, never once did I decide that, hey, you know what, I want to go back to the trial. And one day something came upon me, and I wind up back with the tribe. And at this time around, it's different, and I feel like I need to be leading the tribe in some sort of way. And right now, for me, is to spread this message of addiction and how to get out of the addiction and homelessness and come into the realm of recovery and positivity, because it's great and it's an attainable one. So if you want to be part of this tribe, if you want to be part of this movement, keep watching my videos and take that first step. And a first step can be just listening to someone's podcast. You know what I mean? or going to an AA meeting, go to an NA meeting, go to some sort of peer support group, going to your local church, or just hanging out with people who are in a different realm, who are setting different boundaries other than negative ones and unhealthy ones. And all it takes is just one little step, because all you want to do is take it one day at a time, 1 minute at a time, 1 second at a time, whatever it is for you. And so, you know, just one thing that I wanted to bring up is, I was talking about the energies in my hand. And if you see this, I don't know if you can see that. Well, if you see my hand here, and then you see this hand, if you see this mark right here, it's like an X. It's like a little hourglass. Well, I got it here, and then I got it there too. See that? It's like a little X and an hourglass, and it's right here, right there. And if anybody has that mark, I call it the mark. Shamans and other the palm readers and stuff, they call it the X. And people call, if you have the X or the M, which I have here, you can see the M here. It's here. It's the M there, and then the X right there in the middle. Same thing on this side. You see the M here, like this, and the X right there in the middle. Well, if you have the X and the M, it's very few people in the world have those marks. And those marks are mean that you can feel energies. Your keen sense of spirituality is very, very high. You have the abilities to heal. You have the abilities to connect with people, and you have the abilities to have these gut feelings, if you will, of things that are about to happen, or you can read people very well, and you can sense good and bad, and those types of things, and you have this real deep sense of spirituality, and you're real into and you have this intuition and intact, and this thing about being connected to the earth and the celestial beings, the moon, the stars, all that kind of stuff. And I strongly believe a lot of that, all those types of energies. And so, I wrote down up here. See this. I don't know if you can see this, but this is it's just a thing that I wrote. It's like a big hand, right? And you see the orange is the little X. It's the X here. It's like a little hourglass is what I call it. And then you have see the marks in pink is the M shape. So you can have this on either one of your hands. And so it's a really unique marking on your hand. And so the people who have those markings are considered to be you're like a 1 in a million type thing. The percentage of the human population with those types of markings is very, very small. So when you do have those types of things, your spiritual connection to the universe and Mother Earth is very high. So you're able to lead people, and you're able to do things a little bit. You have more knowledge of stuff other than someone, maybe your neighbor or whatever. But it's a special marking and a special thing to have. And maybe I'll do a video on to get a little bit more, elaborate more on how that works. If you were interested, send me a comment and let me know that yeah, you'd like to know a little bit more, because I got something, I like to really go in depth on things like that, and then have meaning behind it, so that what it means, and where it could help you in your life and what you could do. So I know that I always recommend people to do a morning or meditation. It doesn't have to be in the morning, but just some type of meditation or affirmation, talking to yourself and to your spiritual beings or your God, however you want to call it, in a just a closed area, maybe out in the wilderness somewhere, somewhere where you can just hear nothing but you and your heartbeat, and connect with your inner being, because that's where you're going to feel those decision making things that are going on in your head that you're having trouble doing. You're having trouble wondering why your life is how it is and where it's going to go next and what you can do to know, because ultimately your spiritualness inside you and your sixth sense in I guess in a little, I don't know how else to describe it, but you have the answers within, and all you have to do is take a little time to connect with yourself and ground yourself to Mother Earth, and those things will come clearer to you on what you need to do and where you need to go and how you need to do that in your next phase of your life, because all our lives is just little bits and little chapters in it. And right now, if you're in a chapter of your life that's dark and it's a struggle and with no clarity yet, then I strongly suggest that you take time and do that, and take time and do it more than once, because it doesn't only happen one time that you do it. If you repeatedly do it, take time and do it for a whole week or a whole 30 days and see how that works for you, and remember to drink plenty of water. If you stay away from the toxicity of what the world gives us, then your mind starts working a whole lot clearer. So I strongly recommend things like that, but I'll do a video on that another day. But for now, I guess that's all I got, and I appreciate you guys listening, and I guess till the next time on When the Smoke Clears, I am the Recovery Plug.